Alright guys, Tactical Bit back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday so far, and today we're going to talk about Skrapz and this fine situation that once again rears its ugly head in Call of Duty. A few days ago we talked about Attach, well, he did his tier rankings for the Call of Duty and he was kind of concerned putting Modern Warfare too low might get him fined, because earlier this season we saw that when Scump talked about how Modern Warfare he thinks is the worst competitive game of all time, or, you know, if not the worst, very possibly the worst, he was then fined for his opinion, and he said that he didn't think he could express his opinion with the CDL as it is right now. Skrapz comes out yesterday with a similar tweet, and the follow-up to it is like, is anything going to happen out of this? And you notice that there's very few professional players replying to this tweet, probably thinking that, well, if I say something, maybe that's not going to be so good for the bank account. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. This I thought, first of all, was very, very interesting indeed, that being Paul Pogba, one of the best football players, soccer players for you guys in the States, players in the entire world. Reigning World Cup winner in the 2018 World Cup that he won with France. So, yeah, pretty incredible stuff. Time to start my next adventure with Verdansk FC. Gonna be epic. So, yeah, pretty cool. He's partnering with the Call of Duty Warzone stuff. 44,000 likes on this one. So I thought that was pretty cool if you guys, well, I'm sure a lot of you know who Paul Pogba is. Let's go on to the tweet then. So Skrapz tweets this out. 8 more days of practice on Modern Warfare. Not enjoyed a single bit of this game, not once this year. For the first time in 14 years, praying next year is better. So yeah, 8 more days of practice. We'll have a look in a second exactly what the bracket looks like for London, but yeah, they're going to start playing in 8 days time. And well, yeah, for the first time in 14 years of playing CoD, he reckons that he hasn't enjoyed a single bit once this game. Of course, like, that's exaggerated to some degree. Like, every time you win a series you get that little bit of, oh yeah, come on boys. But yeah, still, Modern Warfare hasn't been the best game. We'll talk in a few minutes time here at exactly like some of the inconsistencies within the game and some of the reasons that make it not the best Call of Duty I believe we've had, especially from the competitive perspective. But this is what Skrapz had to say, and it really does echo what a lot of players have said this entire season long. And well, you know, they're still continuing to say, but maybe in slightly lesser degree, because the fine situation is always on the horizon. And well, yeah, it's definitely possible that this could happen. Activision Blizzard in the CDL, and well, the Overwatch League has certainly done this with other things. It's not a surprise this came into the CDL, but yeah, still, we don't really want a situation where pros feel scared to speak their mind, as Scump was talking about a while ago. Waskin, of course, does then reply to this one with this, but yeah, no other professional players replying to this tweet. And then we get this little tweet thread in reply right here. So yeah, fined for expressing my feelings. Bet I was joking, but yes, I know you're joking, bro. I'm just saying if someone wants to fine me for saying how I truly feel, then fair enough. And well, this is exactly what Scump was getting at a few weeks ago when he talked on the Eavesdrop podcast that, well, yes, I was fined for speaking my opinion on thinking Modern Warfare isn't so good. And if my opinion is what it is, then, you know, what am I meant to do, right? Am I meant to not express my opinion because it's going to be to the detriment of the CDL? Or like, what am I meant to say? Where's the line meant to be drawn? If I'm deliberately like slandering the CDL and making it look bad in the public eye, then that's I think that's a different thing to talking bad about the game, because the game isn't really related to CDL. That's just kind of what happens. And well, the CDL can't control what games come out every year. If you're going to talk trash on like the refereeing decisions and the way the league is structured and organized, then like I can understand maybe that looks bad from a public facing perspective. At the same time, there does need to be an avenue from this feedback to go back, right? Because professional players are certainly important to the ecosystem and to the CDL, but clearly not particularly important to Infinity Ward and probably Activision right now more generally, given how much money they're making from Warzone. So yeah, this is Skrapz' reply here. Just talking briefly about his 8 days time comment. This is when Champs kicks off then. So next Wednesday, August the 19th, and I did set a goal to hit 25,000 subscribers by the start of Champs. That's about a week today. So yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it. We're getting very close to 25,000. That was the goal. I imagine we're going to be able to get there. Hopefully we'll just manage to get over the line. So yes, yeah, these are the matches. On the first day, Wednesday, August 19th, there's actually 2 games. These are both the games down in the losers bracket. So someone is going to go out, or 2 teams are going to go out the very first couple of matches. Then we get Royal Ravens playing on August the 20th. They're up against the Ultra. If they win that, they'll then play the Mutineers. And if they win that, I think that's the Dallas Empire side of the bracket that they'll be playing on if they do manage to make it through. We talked about this drama between, you know, well, Mac, of course, on the subliners, and how that's potentially a matchup that could happen, but it's going to be somewhat difficult to happen if, well, someone's going to have to go down to losers and make a pretty good run for that matchup to happen. But this is what it looks like from the London side. They have a, you know, potentially an achievable bracket, but right now, I'd much prefer, to be honest, to play the Rocker than I would to play Toronto Ultra, given how good they looked recently, even though London should be a solid squad and they've showed some promise. But, you know, can they do it here at Champs? It's going to be a difficult one for sure. And of course, after it finishes, that's really where the question comes in for me. And we've heard Clayster talk about this as well, and some other professional players like Slasher, most recently on the CODcast, saying that, well, after this first weekend, so effectively the playoffs as it goes, if you guys aren't too familiar with how the structure's working, the playoffs goes from Wednesday to Sunday on this week. So starting starting on the 19th, finishing on what would be the 23rd. And then the championship weekend, it comes down to the final 4 teams on the championship weekend next weekend. So the weekend after that, the 29th and the 30th. And that's only 4 teams remaining, and they play out to the World Championship. Now, really, the question is, if London don't make it into the top 4, which, you know, most people aren't expecting them to, if that doesn't happen, then they won't be able to, well, they won't have to practice the week after that, right? Because there's a whole week between when playoffs finishes and we decide our top 4 to then the championship weekend where the winner is decided. And during that time frame, there's no one to scrim. If you're a Dallas Empire, if you're an Atlanta FaZe and you do make it through to the top 4, which is pretty expected given how their bracket looks like right now, if they do make it top 4, who do they scrim for the final week? London, if they don't go out in if they don't make it to top 4, they're not going to be playing the game. Every other team is going to be off the game, as Skrapz says, going on to the new Call of Duties, or well, whatever they're going to play at the time. Like maybe people go back to Black Ops 4, maybe the beta comes out for the next Call of Duty game around this kind of time, hopefully, probably not, but you know, it might be September time, but still, people are going to be going back to other games, they're going to be playing different games on stream, all this kind of stuff, and well, the top 4 teams are not going to have much, much opportunity to practice, right, because all the other teams that they could have potentially practiced against are not there, and you could say, okay, they'll play against the other top 4 teams, but do you really want to scrim just a week before champs against against the top 4 teams in the game, right, that you're going to be playing against the championship weekend, right? Let's say you've got a matchup Dallas versus Florida, or whatever it happens to be in the winners final, or Dallas versus Atlanta is actually more likely. If that's the case, like, what do, right? Do you scrim against Atlanta? Like, you don't really want to. You're going to give away secrets, you're going to give away strats, they're going to be able to pick up on things, right? So that's far from ideal. Definitely creates a difficult situation if London and Co don't get out, and that's definitely, another storyline, to be honest, to be talked about from Skrapz' thing. And the amateur finals, of course, is coming up this weekend. Thought I'd mention this really quickly because tomorrow I'm traveling, so you'll see a different location in the background, but I have 2 videos prepared for tomorrow. But if anything drastic happens, I won't be able to talk about it then. And the other thing, of course, that I would have probably mentioned tomorrow is that the amateur finals happens this weekend. After that, of course, none of the amateur teams are going to be playing Modern Warfare anymore, which leaves the top 4 teams of the World Championship between that week of the 23rd and then the 29th on the Saturday. In that week, who are they going to practice against, right? To know, well, it might not be London Royal Ravens, because Skrapz is saying as soon as this game is over, I am, well, completely out the window. Before we finish, wanted to take a look exactly at what might make Modern Warfare just a bit of a questionable game, and a couple of interesting tweets. This one came out from JP Krez, of course, and we've seen similar things throughout the course of the season, but what he says is 100-point clubs, losing team scores 100 points or fewer during Pro League regular seasons across the last 4 Call of Duty titles. Now, that he gives it in percentages, the amount of percentage of maps that end up in a 100-point club fashion. Now, there could be multiple reasons you can look at this. You could say, okay, well, there's only 12 teams in the league now compared to we've had more in the past. That means that, well, the disparity between talent, I suppose, is reduced. Therefore, the teams are more competitive than they have been in previous seasons, and therefore we get less 100-point clubs. But the difference between an average between the last 3 Call of Duty games of like roughly 10%, 10, 8, and 11, as you can see on screen, Modern Warfare going down to 2%. Only 6 maps out of 284 played as of the 2nd of August have ended in a 100-point club, which is crazy. I imagine this has at least something to do with how the spawns work in the game. I don't really think that's deniable. I think a lot of pros would say a similar thing. The fact that the spawns and the way the game dynamics work means that it's very easy to spawn out and, go into a hill and get a great spawn and get a lucky spawn and get a situation where rotations don't matter so much because the spawns are just kind of dodgy within the game. Means that you get less 100-point clubs because it's less easy to rotate and teams can break in and all that kind of stuff. It just sounds to me like maybe there's more inconsistency in this game if the best team isn't constantly 100-point clubbing the worst teams. Not saying that's always going to be the case by any means, but in the past it would happen maybe 10% of the time. In this game, it's barely happening at all. So there's probably a reasoning for that. And well, as we see here on Reddit from this user, as you can see on screen, worst equals Modern Warfare. There was a thread I'll leave for you guys linked down below, talking effectively about best and worst Call of Duty games of all time for competitive. These are some of the reasons, right? Worst cameras in CoD history, exacerbated by slide cancelling, tactical sprint, bunny hopping, embarrassingly bad 12Hz servers. Time to kill is way too fast. I mean, it's not been, I wouldn't say it's way too fast, like it's been somewhat similar in previous games, but I definitely think, slower time to kill would help, and it's been pretty clear cut really from the developers that have said that they've made the time to kill fast so that very new players can very easily get kills, right, and feel like they're contributing. Very little developer support, some of the worst maps in CoD history. I really do think maps is the key one for any game, and the better the maps are, the better the game is. I think the maps really do, they're the core of the game in my opinion. This year hasn't been great by any means. 5v5 in my opinion isn't ideal, but obviously people have different opinions on that. Worst spawn logic, 12Hz once again, doors, no dead silence. So yeah, just a list of things that haven't made this game really so great. Just before we finish off, we just wanted to make this clear, as I said, the videos tomorrow will be pre-released recorded, so I won't be able to mention this then. But this weekend, live on the Call of Duty League YouTube channel, will be the regional finals. Some of the players, I imagine, will also be live streaming this on Twitch if you guys want to check that out over there. So August 15th, 16th, the regional events, North America, EU, APAC region, top 32 in North America and Europe, top 16 in the APAC region are going to compete for the World Championship Grand Final in the amateur side. Last year it was Shawnee's team that won it at the CDL Miami event where they had the finals of the Pro League and also of the amateur side. This weekend they're slightly staggered, so that should give us some entertaining stuff to watch this weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Are we down?
How about you new?
I'm in new. Could be on me.
Oh, that's a trade. That's two.
Look at your internet. Let me know if you see him left.
Yeah, they stunned it.
Think you're finding rhythm, brother, Scout.
You can't teach this.
I have left side. They can go around.
I'm about to head out bathroom.
I'll get time.
I got it.
Keep left, 8 down, slack.